Good morning, welcome back to the Fishing Doctor's Adventures. We're just out on my pond today, out doing some fly fishing. I'm using this balanced leech. It's a pumpkin or something. It's got some green flash and an orange tail and a bead head. Okay, let's try some fishing and see what we can do. I'm fishing out on my backyard pond and it's fairly shallow this time of year because the water drops down. So what we do is we find the deepest part of the pond, and you can do this on any lake, stream, river. When it's fall, it's September 9 today. We're fishing a small pocket. Most of the pond is full of weeds almost to the surface of the water, but this is a portion of the lake that's still 9 or 10 feet deep. And it's shaded, as you see. It's a steep valley surrounded by trees, so this is the coolest part of the body of water, and trout like cooler water. So this is why I've come here to fish, also because the rest of the lake is pretty much unfishable due to the weeds. Where the water's cooler, and where the water's cooler, it has a higher percentage of oxygen as well. So this is where the fish like to go. Now what I'm doing is, look, we got fish there. Did you see that? Oh, it came off. What we're doing is, initially I tried chironomid fishing because in these areas, these muddy, weedy areas, the fish often are taking chironomids, but I wasn't getting much action, so I switched over to this leech pattern and they seem to like it a lot better. It's kind of just more like a catatonic leech pattern. And what you want is for that leech, it's a balanced leech, so it sits horizontally even when it's not moving. And if the water temperature is still pretty warm, these fish can be a little bit lethargic, but it's cooling down now because we've had some rain this last week and the temperatures have been more moderate, so sometimes they like a little bit of movement, but as you saw with that one, I was just leave it sit still and he grabbed it. I have that fly about 2 feet off the bottom. I would say initially when you first start fly fishing and you're fishing with chironomids or a leech and you want to be near the bottom, start about 2 feet off the bottom, because those trout, they look up and they'll take stuff above them. If it's below them, they may not see it, and if you're not getting hits that high off the bottom, then move it down to about anywhere from 12 to 18 inches off the bottom, and that should usually work for you. Infrequently they'll take stuff like right off the bottom, 6 inches. Look at that, another one. There we go, fish on. Doesn't take long, huh? Let's see if he'll get a jump here. Try to keep him out of those weeds there. That's fun. Oh, he's fighting good. Oh, jumped over there. Oh, this is a nice colored up one. Looks like a male. Very pretty fish. Really pretty fish. Well, let's see if I can get him here, not lose him, so you can take a gander at him. As I was saying, I'm just a couple feet off the bottom, and that seems to work. You see there, 2 hits. Oh, don't go into that tree. Look how red this one is. Wow. Look how red that fish is. I don't know if I've seen a rainbow trout that red before. Look, the whole thing is really pink. Pink in coloration. I've never seen a rainbow trout like that. Well, let's let this guy go and we'll get back down there. Just flip him. There we go. Gone. Like I said, I'm using a balanced leech. So how you tell it's a balanced leech, the hook is not directly at the end of the hook. It actually has a pin with a bead on it, and then a J-style hook where the loop comes up, ties slightly back from the head so that the leech will actually sit horizontally. Now, you can still get it to sit upright if you put the line like that, but you have to tie your knot in such a way that you can pull the knot down towards the hook and it'll sit horizontally, and that's the kind of presentation you're looking for. Natural presentation, like a leech swimming in the water. Okay, let's get back out there and catch another one. When you're in the right spot, these fish are pretty thick. They congregate really well. and it can lead to some fast action because most of the rest of the lake is filled with weeds. Now sometimes you'll notice that first thing in the morning the fishing might be a little bit slower because the fish will disperse through those weedy areas feeding in the early AM, but once it gets brighter light they'll again retreat to the deeper area. Now if you're not getting any hits and it's just sitting still, another thing that works is sometimes just giving it a little bit of motion. Pop it 5 times, let it sit still for a few seconds, let it fall back down, pop it a few times, it rises right when you do that, and then let it fall back down, and that really seems to be something that they like as well. If it doesn't pull down hard, it's probably just a weed you're picking up off the bottom. Rainbow trout like to pull down hard. Now if I was fishing for brook trout, they, on the other hand, will take it really lightly like that. They just like to kind of mouth it as they swim by. So you gotta be quick on the switch, set the hook quickly, or else you might miss them. We'll see, I might be able to convince my wife that we should go brook trout fishing here on the weekend. Can be good in the fall time. Most of us, when we've started fishing as kids, we've learned to fish with something called a bobber, red and white float. And some things change over time, but some things don't. In fly fishing you call them floats, and they work great, or a strike indicator. Fancy name for a bobber, right? But truth of the matter is, trout love flies suspended below a float. So you can target the correct depth, keep it in that zone where the fish are traveling longer, and just gives them the presentation that they want. Trout are kind of, people say they're acrobatic and everything, but to me, when you think about it, their food sources are usually bugs or leeches. Oh, one just jumped over there on the other side. You probably saw that in the background. Trout are pretty lazy. I mean, their prey aren't the fastest moving things. Leeches, snails, beetles, bugs, Some eat fish, but for the most part, they are gluttonous towards slow-moving creatures. Tons of bugs right above the water, so there's a pretty good hatch on right now. So they might actually be on chironomids today, and they might be hitting those bugs or nymphs on the surface. So this leech might not be the best pattern today. I might be able to switch to a small chironomid, and that might work better for me. But, oh, there we go. Fish on. Fish on. So you just have to start doubting yourself and fish on. Yeah, I got one on here. Smaller guy. They've been growing up. From the spring they're a bit bigger. And it's fun to catch them at this size. Pretty scrappy little fish. Like I said, usually good action once you find that pocket where the fish are kind of hanging out, cooling off. Oh man, this guy's pulling good. Feisty. The water's cooling off again, so they're getting more active. Okay, let's let this beauty go. Nice little rainbow trout. These are all about £1.5, £1.75. Perfect size for catching. And this fall, they'll be even bigger. Lucky takes off right back to the bottom. Oh, there we go. Oh, came off. Turned off the camera for, oh there, look, oh yeah, oh it came off again. I put it right back where he was and he hit. Let's see if he'll do it again. Sometimes even though the fish are on chironomids, doesn't matter, they'll be feeding heavily and they'll take a lure and mine will stand out because it's bigger and brighter. That's the way I think about it sometimes. Sometimes bigger and is better. But if you're not getting any hits, do what they say, mash the hatch and catch some fish. And likely a small chironomid, small black or green chironomid would work with this hatch that's coming off right now. It's a pretty small insect. So see that? I had 2 hits there and now my hook is a little bit off horizontal. Sometimes when fish are feeding heavily they'll still hit it, but change it to the horizontal position and get it back out there. There you go. That's how you want it to sit, right? There we go. Fish on. I'm just using a 5-weight fly rod. Floating line. When you're float fishing, you should use floating line. Works better. Because then your line will lie nicely on the surface. All the way to your float. And depending on the depth of water you're fishing, sometimes you'll need an extra long leader. So that you can get down to the fish, because sometimes, you know, the fish are in 10, 15, 20 feet of water. Then you'll need to learn how to cast a very long leader like that. So it takes a little bit of practice, but if you're fishing that deep of water, just get right over the spot and drop that hook down if you want to while you're practicing. There we go. Nice little rainbow. This one's a little smaller. They range in size depending on how hungry they are during the year. There he goes. See that? Float down. So the best way to do it when you're float fishing is have no slack in your line, point directly at the float, and be ready every second that you're out there on the water for that float to go down. Because when she does, you just lift the rod tip straight up with your finger on the reel, and that way you'll get the fish. When he bites, you just lift that rod tip straight up. Another rainbow trout. It's a little bigger one. Okay, come here, mate. The good thing about flies is when you're fishing in your own pond, they don't take the bait very deep, right? Just in the lip. So you can let them go and catch them another day. Hooked up. Hooked up. Oh, this is a fighter. Whoop. There was one in there, huh? Oh, he's getting wrapped in the weeds. He's doing his best to get off. Got me on some weeds here. So the thing about using a longer leader when you're fishing these fish deep is you get to that float, it's hard to reel them in. So you usually don't want to use much more line than you have a rod length. Like this is a 9-foot 5-weight, and I have about an 8.5-foot leader, so at least I can get the fish. But you know, when you're using 20 feet a leader, sometimes guys just go with floating, a really well floating line, so that they don't have the float on the line. And then you kind of just have to watch your floating line at the end. When it dives down, set the hook. When you notice anything different, just set the hook. And that's how you get them when you're using a really deep, when you're using a really long leader in the summer. Get those deep water fish. This is a nice rainbow. Pretty colors. A little bit bigger. Can't complain. Let's let her go. There she goes. This is a little corner in the pond here. So it transitions from one edge and then heads off another way. I usually have good luck right in this corner. It seems like it kind of concentrates fish. Remember, some people think trout kind of not relating to structure. You better believe it, they relate to structure. Even if there are fish in other areas on the lake, you can always remember to key in on those structural areas, because they are the most consistent for holding fish. And that's what I fish on my pond here, is always structural elements. Unless I'm just trolling around in the spring dragging a fly. By all means, don't fish the same fly and the same location all day. If that bobber's not going down, move on to another spot. Change your fly, change the depth, change whatever you need to in order to get that bobber to start going down. Because once you find that pattern that works, usually you'll be on the fish. And if partway through the day you've been catching fish and then they stop, then you need to change again. Change your location, change the depth of the fly, change the fly. Location, 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 as in many things, is also true in fishing. And if you can find where they are, it's often easier to catch them, because fish don't always tend to be the most selective things on earth. As long as you like to use hooks that aren't totally off the wall. Use something that's on the smaller side, like leech patterns, nymph patterns, small beadheads, chironomids. You know, just go through the range. You'll find something that works. So I'm gonna, you know, because I was like 8.5 feet before. Now I'm just going about 4 feet under the float. We'll see if anything happens, because there's tons of bugs on the surface. So I don't know if these fish are cruising above my fly, because they were hitting like crazy, and then things kind of slowed down. Oh, there we go. Oh, fish off. There we go, fish on. That was just with the 4-foot leader length. Remember, fishing is like TV advertising. The larger your viewership is, the more people are going to see your advertisement and possibly buy your product. Same thing goes for fishing. The more fish that you put that hook in front of, the more chance that one of them is going to bite it. So think about that when you're fishing. How can I make this hook more visible to more fish? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Goodbye, fishy. Gone. So how I increased my viewership there was I raised the depth of the fly to 4 feet, put it in front of more of their faces because probably some of them are cruising higher up, and guess what? Fish on. Let's see if it works again. like I suspected, fish are cruising around eating these chironomids, all this hatch coming off right now. And so probably lots of them are cruising subsurface. And my fly was close to the bottom. I stopped getting hits. So I moved it to 4 foot under the surface, which is where they usually like to cruise when they're hitting surface bugs, is 3 to 4 feet under the surface. Then they'll see my fly and they'll take it. What you saw didn't take long. Well, my battery's just about ready to die here. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you learned at least one thing. That's the key, right? That'll help you catch more fish today. Go out there, give it a try. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like the video, and I'll keep producing more videos. See you in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh yeah, beautiful rainbow trout right there. Oh yeah, gotta love it.